Go Bucks, the undisputed national champions. I can still say that for a few days. Hello and welcome to Waz Watch. Today we are looking at college bowl season. Now, even though there's been a lot of bowls that have already happened, the next few days are where we have the national championships, the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day bowls. So I just wanted to give you guys my quick predictions of who I think is going to win each of these bowls. We have Houston versus Florida State. Now in this one, I am going to take Houston. I think that Houston's new head coach is the best thing that has happened to Houston for a while, and one of the worst things that has happened to Ohio State in a while. They have an amazing offense, and I think that they are going to go into this game hungry, while Florida State, after being in the playoff and now being in a little bit lesser of a bowl this time around, they've had their struggles throughout the season, and I think that Houston will show up a lot more than Florida State will. The next one up, we have Oklahoma versus Clemson. This is a semifinal for the national championship. It's part of the college football playoffs, and I am actually going to take Clemson, which is kind of weird because Clemson is the undefeated number one team in the country, and yet most people are taking Oklahoma because Oklahoma is the hot hand. But I'm still one of those people who think that if you have not lost, there's a reason for that. Clemson has had some close calls, but I do think they are finishers, and I think that they are going to win this game. I think they are going to keep riding that hot streak of not losing, and I think they will beat Oklahoma in a very good game. The next one, very important here in Michigan, is Michigan State versus Alabama. I find it really funny because even though the teams are different besides Alabama, this time around, there's a lot of similarities between this playoff and the last playoff. For example, you have Clemson, an undefeated team, very much like Florida State, that a lot of people might not even think is that good of a team, but they're undefeated, so you have to put them in there. And then this time around, you have a Big Ten team in Michigan State who a lot of people, they kind of got in there at the very end, were impressive at the end, but a lot of people nationally do not really like them, and they're going up against big, bad Alabama. Same thing that happened to Ohio State last year. I will say this one. I was a lot more confident picking Ohio State last year. Fanboy, I know, but they blew out the Big Ten championship game. Now, Iowa's very good, and Michigan State played them great, but I am having a little bit of trouble envisioning Alabama letting that happen to them twice. Regardless, I'm going to pick Michigan State. I think Michigan State is good across the board. I don't think they're phenomenal, but I think they have a good passing game, a good running game, a good defense. I think that they are more solid. I think that Alabama is good. I think they are very impressive, but they have an amazing running game and a subpar quarterback, which in college doesn't hurt you as much, but I think that gets washed over a lot. That the SEC doesn't typically have great quarterbacks because they have amazing defenses and amazing running games. So I'm actually going to take Michigan State, fanboying a little bit in this one, but I think that they can pull it off and pull off the major upset. Next up, we got Northwestern at Tennessee. I actually am going to pick Tennessee in this one. I'm going to be rooting for Northwestern because I'm a Big Ten fan, but I think that Tennessee is one of those teams that is kind of always in the mix but just can never seem to get it together, and Northwestern is a very, very good team but can lay an egg from time to time, so I'm going to pick Tennessee in that one. The next one is Michigan versus Florida, and this hurts me so bad, but I'm going to take Michigan. I think that Michigan is a really great team. I think Michigan is ahead of schedule. I did not expect Michigan to be this good until this upcoming year. So I think they're actually a year ahead of where I think they should be, which is very impressive. So, and Florida, great defense, but ever since they lost their quarterback, their offense is very bad. Like, very could get beat by anybody. Bad. It's really, really bad, and their defense keeps them in games. But their defense eventually will get worn down, and I think that Michigan has a very good offense, very good defense, and I think that they will end up winning this game. Now, the most important one of all of them, obviously, is Ohio State versus Notre Dame, and I actually think this is going to be a really good game. I'm obviously going with the Buckeyes in this one. I think that they are going to play scorned, very much like they did against Michigan. A lot of people were curious of how they were going to respond after losing to Michigan State, and they came out and they played phenomenal against Michigan, a very good quality opponent. And while I think Michigan is going to play angry, I think Ohio State is also going to play angry because they are the defending national champion, and they didn't get that chance to redeem themselves. They had the loss. I'm totally fine with them not being in the playoffs. I understand it. But I think that some people are expecting them to play flat because, oh, we didn't get to go to the national championships. What do we care if we win this bowl game? But I think they're going to play angry, and I think that they're going to play intense. I think Urban Meyer is going to have them up to the challenge against Notre Dame, and I think they're going to win by about 10 points. Next up, we got Stanford versus Iowa. This one I actually think is going to be incredibly good. This one actually reminds me of when Michigan State played Stanford. You have two teams who are just going to knock the snot out of each other. I think it's going to be a very, very good game, and I'm going to actually take Iowa. I think that Iowa is a lot better than a lot of people gave them credit for. I think people were just kind of waiting for them to fail. But once again, they lost the game in the last waning moments against a playoff contender team in a championship game, and they won all their regular season games, and they won most of them pretty impressively. I think that Stanford is good, but I think Stanford is going to feel that little bit of a letdown, while Iowa, this is the big deal. To get to the Rose Bowl for Iowa is huge. I mean, obviously they much would have preferred the national championship playoff, but the Rose Bowl for Iowa is huge, and Stanford is kind of getting this reputation of they kind of always go to the Rose Bowl. It's just becoming a normal thing. So not that they don't care, but I think that Iowa is going to step up to this challenge a little bit more than Stanford. Next up, we have Oklahoma State versus Ole Miss. Now, this one, I actually think that Ole Miss is going to win. Ole Miss is kind of hard to read. They win, they lose. They're supposed to be this dominant force, but I think that they will overcome Oklahoma State in this one. Next up, we got Penn State versus Georgia. Another hard one to read, especially after the coaching change that's going on in Georgia. But I think that Penn State has a great quarterback that they cannot protect, and I think that Georgia's going to get after him. So I'm actually going to pick Georgia, even though, once again, rooting for the Big Ten, hope Penn State wins. But I think that Georgia is going to pull this one off. Kind of a send-off to their coach, kind of playing for him. Next up, we got Kansas State versus Arkansas. And I think that Arkansas is going to win this game. I actually predicted that Arkansas was going to be a contender in the SEC this year. It kind of just fell apart starting at the very beginning. But I do think they are a very talented team with a lot of good pieces. And I think that they are going to pull this win off. Next up, we have Oregon versus TCU. I think that this matchup is going to be phenomenal. Zero defense, no one cares, just pass the ball, run like crazy. It's going to be a 90 to 95 sort of game, I'm hoping. And I think that's what the people who put these two teams together are hoping. But I think that Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon kind of stumbled at the beginning. You have that loss to Michigan State early on, and you just have those struggles. But they kind of ride the ship near the end there. I think that they're on a hot streak, and I think that TCU is kind of on the opposite trajectory, that they were so high up here, and then they just never really did what everyone expected them to do. So I'm actually picking Oregon over TCU. Next up, we got West Virginia versus Arizona State. I like Arizona State in this one. I think that Arizona State is a very talented team. Not that West Virginia isn't, but I'm taking Arizona State in this one. Which leads us to our national championship, which, if I'm correct, would be Michigan State versus Clemson. And you're going to have to tune in next week to see what I have to say about that. If I'm right, if I'm wrong, I'll still come on and say what I think the winner will be. But let's hope I'm right. Well, what do you guys think? Which bowl game are you most looking forward to? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, feel free to tweet me during the games. I'll be trying to watch most of them. Let me know what you think. Also, write down in the comments down below what you think of each result and who you think I'm right about and wrong about. I would love to know. Please let me know in the comments down below. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this video. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.